Now let's create a mini project which is a serverless password manager, and this is the architecture. So here we have a DynamoDB table which will store our passwords, but passwords will not be stored in plain text. Instead, when we make API calls, API gateway will talk to Lambda functions, and Lambda functions will talk to KMS service, and then passwords will be encrypted and stored in DynamoDB. Regarding schema, so this is the schema. We have user ID. For each password, we will have password ID. Then we can add site name, username, and password. Same user can have multiple entries, and user ID is partition key here, password ID is sort key here, and these two will form composite primary key, and combination of these two will be unique value in this table. And then we have React frontend and API gateway. Both are configured with Cognito, which will provide user management for our application. In fact, here the user ID which we are storing, it's nothing, it's just user ID provided by Cognito. So let's go to AWS and do the setup there. Close all this and open this GitHub repo, AWS KMS course. You can either open with GitHub desktop by making fork, or just download the zip and then extract the content and open it in VS Code. So open this location in command prompt and then run code dot, or you can open VS Code and open this folder. Now here we have this folder password manager, and here we have code for Lambda and frontend with auth, means React frontend. One more thing, here we will run our frontend locally. We will not upload it to S3 bucket and CloudFront to keep our focus on KMS. If you want, you can check out my previous serverless video to understand how to do that. So let's start from this left side, DynamoDB, and go to tables, create new table, table name. Let's see what I'm using in the code. So in code, I'm using table name as pass manager. Let's keep same name here as well. And partition key. So partition key is user ID, which will come from Cognito. And then we have sort key as pass ID, and both will be string, and the combination of these two will be a unique identifier. Everything else leave default and create table. Now we need to create a KMS key and Lambda functions and API gateway. So let's create a KMS key, which will be symmetric key, and we are using it for encryption and decryption. KMS will be source of key material. Alias, so we will use alias as password manager key, and then no need to select anything here. Click next, next, and with this default statement, create create the key, and this is our key, pass manager key. This is the alias. Now let's create one role, because we have these Lambda functions, and we need some IAM role to talk to DynamoDB and KMS. Go to IAM role and create a new role. Let's create a role for Lambda, and here let's give it Lambda basic execution role, which will allow to create CloudWatch logs, and let's call it pass manager role, and this generic role we will use for all Lambda functions. Inside pass manager role, let's create two inline policies, one for DynamoDB, and we want get item, put item, delete item, and update item. Also query. For which table we want, so we want for pass manager table, copy its ARN and paste here. Next, let's call it Dynamo policy and create the policy. Let's add one more policy as KMS policy for generate data key, encrypt and decrypt operation. And we want for this pass manager key. Next, policy name, let's call it KMS policy. Now role is also created. Let's create these Lambda functions, and before that let's review the code of each Lambda function. So here let's start with create password function. So in create password function, we will take username, site name, and password from body. User ID we will take from request context, and since we will use API gateway with Cognito, this user ID will be available as part of authorizer.jwt.claims.sub. To check it, you can just create a Lambda function and log the event and expose it by API gateway and attach Cognito authorizer, and in the logs or in the response you should be able to see this format. Now if these details are not present, then we will return error. If these details are present, we will call encrypt API to encrypt the password. For that, we will pass key ID, password, and encryption context. Notice that we are not using generate data key API here, because size of password will be less than 4 KB. And even here I added generate data key, but it's not required. So let's remove it. Only encrypt and decrypt will be sufficient for us. Save. So password we encrypt, and then we store encrypted password in DynamoDB with other details. Also, let's correct region. So right now I am in US East 1 region, so we'll create resources there. Let's correct it in all places. So get delete do not have and update. Now coming to code of get password function, we have two parts. So if it's like example.com/pass only, we are returning all passwords for that particular user, but we are not decrypting them before returning. And it will be used in home page where we will show cards of all passwords, but not the exact password. Inside if block, we have code for example.com/pass/password ID. And this time we will get that particular password ID and decrypt it using decrypt command by calling decrypt API of KMS and return decrypted password. And this will be used, suppose we have multiple cards on home page. If user clicks on some card, new page will open with decrypted password. Also, while decrypting and also while encrypting password, along with key ID and password, we are also passing encryption context, which is like context provided for encryption or decryption, and we can pass key value pairs here. And whatever context I pass during encryption must be passed during decryption also, else API call will fail. Now, let's see code for update. So for update, I guess I made some mistake. Let's check again. So forget region is, it should be US East 2. It looks like I copy pasted wrong thing everywhere. Update. So in code of update, we are taking new password from user, and then we are just encrypting and updating DynamoDB table. For delete, there are no KMS call involved. We are just deleting the entry from DynamoDB table. Now let's deploy them. So I will deploy manually while creating function, and before that I will create zip of all these. So let's navigate to the folder, cd password manager, Lambda, and run this script. It will just go to all folders and create 4 zip for me. So let's run it. So I will go to Lambda and create new function. Let's call it get pass and select RM64 as architecture. Select pass manager role which we created and create function. Now for each function, we will create function, upload the code, and also update index handler. Upload the zip file. Also, since in our index.html, our main logic is in get pass, that's why we need to update our entry point as index.getPass in handler setting. Now let's create one more function as create pass, and as name suggested, will for post call. Let's select a role, create function, and Let's upload a zip file, save it, and also edit the handler. I will go to function to make sure it was the correct function name. And instead of handler, I want to call create pass function. Go back and create update pass IAM role and load zip file for update function. And also let's update handler. So for update, it should be update handler, update pass. So let's copy it. One more and the last one, it's delete pass. And again, select the role. Let's copy its name also. It's straightforward, delete pass. Let's update the handler and also update the code. Now we have all our Lambda functions in the place with required IAM role attached. Also make sure to update handler in each of them. Let's create API gateway now. So I will open API gateway and create new HTTP API. Let's call it pass manager API gateway. Everything I will leave default, and then I have to create total 5 routes, 2 for get and then for other 3. So for get, let's create get route, and it is pass, which will return all the password for that user. And then we have /pass/id, and this will return decrypted password for this password ID. Let's create post also, and it will be just pass and data will go inside payload. We need put for update function, and we will pass with ID which password we want to update. And last one is delete. We need to pass ID and also /pass/ID. Now we have all the routes in API gateway. We need to configure Lambda function for each of them. So for that, let's go to integrations and create and attach integration. So first one is get pass. I will create one Lambda function with get pass and attach. For this one also, same Lambda function or same integration can be used. So I will attach it. For post, I will create new integration, and this time I will select create pass as Lambda function. For all, make sure to keep this on because it will add permission in our Lambda function so that this API gateway can invoke it. Now, similarly, let's create for put and delete. So put will use update, and delete will use delete function. Now for each route, let's attach authorizer, and we will use Cognito authorizer. So let's go and create a new Cognito user pool. To user pool, create new pool, create for single page application. We need email for sign in and sign up. Return URL localhost 5173 because I will run client locally. Create directory and skip this overview. Here we have token signing key URL. So what happens in Cognito is that it uses OAuth protocol for hosted UI, and this link exposes public key for verification of tokens issued by JWT tokens issued by Cognito. In later section of this course, we will create something similar. That's why I showed it here. So what we need to do, we need to copy this URL and tell our authorizer of API gateway to use this URL for verification of the tokens that we will pass as authorization header from client. Remove this till here. Also, we need to configure our audience, and inside token audience will be client ID. So add audience, client ID, and let's call it auth and create. Let's go and attach this authorizer to all our routes. So all 5 routes we need to attach. Done. Now at this point, one thing we can do, use Postman and call each API, and for calling each API use token from Cognito by going to login page and then getting the token. Else we can use frontend because we have to make very small changes in frontend to use it. So let's do it frontend only. And in frontend, I have these 3 main files: app.jsx, not app.jsx, home.jsx, where I am calling all passwords like example.com/pass API and showing cards of all passwords with site and username detail. On click of any password, this item details.jsx will load, which will show unencrypted password or decrypted password by calling /pass/password ID. Here only we have feature for edit and delete API call also. And for each API call, we are reading this access token from session storage and attaching to the API calls. And the library which we are using, they will take care of OAuth flow and storing the token in session storage. For more details, you can check out Cognito video. For now, let's proceed. So I will go to this folder, cd frontend, and install dependencies. Till dependencies are installing, we need to update main.jsx and app.jsx. So in main.jsx, let's go to Cognito overview and quick setup guide for React and copy as it is. These are the configurations that will be used for that library. Is React IDC context for carrying out the OAuth workflow. One more place we have to update is this thing inside app.jsx. This one. Also here we need to update logout URI, which we can keep for now as home page. And also we need to update it here in login page settings as sign out URI and save changes. Let's run our application. And before we run our application, we need to update core setting as well. Else what will happen? Our API calls to API gateway will fail because of CORS error. So what we can do, we can go to CORS setting of API gateway and add localhost 5173 to allowed origin. Make sure to remove slash, and here we can add content type, means what headers we want to accept. We are also sending our token as part of authorization header, so add that as well. Methods get, post, put, delete, and save. Now let's go to our application and sign in. We need to create a new account, get the code from email and confirm account, and it will log in. Here it's calling wrong URL. Let's see what is the reason. I guess I have not updated environment file, so let's update it. Let's make it .env, and here we need to update API gateway URL. So go to API gateway and copy this invoke URL and update it here. Now let's remove this and hit enter. This time it's making call to API gateway, and it's successful. Let's add something. So I will add aws.com and username, let's call test, password, let's add something, and add. So here I got 201 response, and it's successful. Let's add a few more. So now let's click on one of these cards, and here I got undefined for something. Let's see. Not sure, for some reason password ID is undefined here. Let's go back here, clear it, and click again. This time we have password ID, and for this password ID we got this password, and let's edit it. Let's add this attend and save it. So password is updated as well. Now let's delete it, and it got deleted. Now let's go to DynamoDB table and see how things are looking there. So go to table, explore items, and here we can see we have 2 entries, and this is the password which is stored in DynamoDB, which is in encrypted format. I think it's very big, but this is envelope encryption, and it contains information regarding both my password and the key which was used to encrypt it. Coming back to architecture, we have our working password manager, and right now I'm hosting React locally, but we can put this React to the S3 bucket and expose it with the help of CloudFront CDN. Also, API gateway can be exposed with the help of CloudFront CDN.